Alright, so those are the type of stabilities for your elements. Okay, so now we are going to look at the formation of bonds using Lewis symbols. So dalam soalan, you will most likely be asked how to show the Lewis symbols for the formation of three types of bonds. They are ionic bond, or nama lain electrovalent bond, covalent bond, dative bond, or coordinate covalent bond. Okay, so let's look at the first type of bond, which is ionic bond. Okay, you are, I think, familiar with this. The ionic bond is the electrostatic attraction between positively and negatively charged ions in an ionic compound. Okay, so this ionic compound, it is formed when valence electrons are transferred. Okay, transferred, bukannya shared. Okay, maksudnya ada donor and ada acceptor between atoms, metal to non-metal, to give two oppositely charged ions that attract each other. So basically, your ionic bond ni, dia akan form cation dengan anion. Okay, when you transfer electrons lah. So first you have atom. So this is metal atom and non-metal. Okay, so your metal, it is electropositive, therefore it will tend to lose electrons, while your non-metal atom is electronegative. They will tend to pull electrons, attract electrons to itself. So therefore, okay, to form the ionic bond, your metal will donate electrons to the non-metal. So there is a transfer of electrons from the metal atom to the non-metal atom. So when this happens, okay, you will actually form cation and anion. Alright, so this cation will have a positive charge, while your anion will have negative charge. So the two oppositely charged ions will attract each other and they will form ionic bond. Okay, so let's look at the examples here, NaCl and calcium chloride. Okay, so for NaCl, okay, we know that, okay, we'll tengok atas ni sodium and chlorine is a salt, okay, or ionic compound. Okay, so the sodium is a metal and chlorine is a non-metal. Okay, sodium is in group 1 while chlorine is in group 17. So your sodium, okay, it is an electropositive metal which tends to remove its valence electrons. Therefore, it can form sodium plus ion in order to achieve the stable noble gas configuration. Okay, so your sodium, ini saya just tunjuk the step by step process. Sodium, okay, awak lukis dia punya Lewis symbol. It is group 1, so it has only one electron. So what happens is that they will lose electron. So maksudnya ni sebenarnya minus electron kat sini lah, tapi kita tak tulis macam tu, kita tulis macam ni. And then you will lose the electron and form Na+. So sekarang your sodium ion ni, dia tak ada dah lah this electron, sebab electron ni dah kena buang. Okay, chlorine pula, chlorine atom, it is in group 17. It is electronegative element, so this non-metal will tend to accept electron. So basically dia accept electron daripada siapa? Dia accept daripada Na lah. Okay, so look here, dia ada 7 je valence electron. Dia perlukan lagi 1 electron untuk achieve the stable noble gas configuration. So chlorine will accept 1 electron from sodium to obtain the stable noble gas configuration. So if you look here kan, dia form an ion with this negative charge here kan. So it is because it already accepted 1 electron. So masa ni dia punya charge kosong. So bila charge dia kosong, tak adalah tulis charge apa-apa, dia atom. Plus 1 electron. Electron ni is negatively charged. So now the chloride ion will have a minus charge, okay, and 8 electrons around itself. Okay, so the electrostatic forces between Na plus and Cl minus will produce an ionic bond. So this is a simultaneous process. That means that these processes take place at the same time. Okay, same time, right? So let's say if the question asks you to show the formation of ionic bond using Lewis symbol, you will show it this way. Okay, so maksudnya bila you have metal and non-metal, okay, your metal, you must know that you will form ionic bond. Alright, so you must show first Lewis symbol Na with 1 electron, and then Cl with 7 electrons. Okay, and then you have a plus here. So what happens is you will draw an arrow showing the transfer of electrons from sodium to Cl. Okay, so show that, and then draw an arrow to show the products. So your product will be, okay, yang ni dah kena accept oleh Cl. So what happens is that dia lose satu electron. Okay, so dia lose satu elektron daripada dia ada 11 elektron, 11 proton. Dia lose satu elektron jadi 10 electrons, 11 proton. So sekarang your sodium will have a plus charge. So make sure to show that the sodium does not have any more electron left in the valence shell. It has already lost its electrons. Okay, bracket, and then the plus charge. Okay. Okay, so Cl pula, it already accepted this 1 electron from sodium. That means that you will draw this one balik. Okay, but with an additional electron. Okay, dah tambah satu elektron. So that means that, contoh berapa chlorine is 17 kan. So kat sini awak ada 17 elektron, 17 proton. So bila awak accept satu elektron, awak ada 18 electrons and 17 proton. So that's why your charge here is a minus charge. Okay, awak lebih satu elektron. Dah ambil satu elektron, nak tunjuknya. Make sure to show that your chlorine has 8 electrons. Okay, make sure to show this bracket as well. Let's say for CaCl2 pula, I think you can read this on your own. Okay, beza dia ialah dia ada satu Ca and 2 chlorine atoms. So since Ca, calcium, is in group 2, it will lose 2 electrons in order to achieve the stable octet configuration. Okay, so who will accept those 2 electrons? It will be these 2 chlorine atoms lah. So each chlorine atom must accept 1 electron, okay, in order to have 8 electrons around itself. So you have to show the arrow, okay, show the arrow that the electron is transferred from calcium to chlorine, each of them. And then you will show the products where calcium dah lose electrons. Okay, dah lose electrons, so it has no electrons, so it has a 2 plus charge. And then your 2 chlorine, okay, awak boleh tunjuk macam ni. So chlorine satu ni, each of them sudah achieve octet configuration. Dia dah accept satu elektron, so dia ada 8 electrons around itself. Okay, so each of the Cl ion has a minus charge. Okay, chloride ion, and there are 2 chlorine atoms. So make sure to show that it has, awak ada 2. Okay, so 2 menunjukkan awak ada 2 chlorine atom. Bukan, kalau buat macam ni salah, not like that. You have to show 2 besar dekat depan chlorine tu. Alright, chloride ion. Okay. Okay, so this is an exercise, do it yourself. Next, we have, this is just the properties of your ionic compounds. I think you can read it by yourself. Okay, baca sendiri. Okay, now we're going to go to covalent bond. So covalent bond, it is a chemical bond formed by the sharing of one or more electron pairs between 2 atoms. Kalau tadi ionic bond, awak transfer, okay? Awak transfer, so you have a donor and acceptor, okay? Maksudnya awak akan seorang bagi, seorang terima. But in this case, covalent bond, you will share. Okay, so this will occur between non-metal atoms lah. Okay, so your non-metal atoms, they have the similar electronegativity, so there is equal power balance between these two. Okay, dia dua-dua tarik, let's say sini satu, sini satu, dua-dua will share their electrons sama-sama. Okay, because they have the same strength of pulling electrons to themselves. Okay, so maksudnya dia akan share lah. Okay, so two atoms share electrons to gain stability by having noble gas configuration. So the examples will be for hydrogen and fluorine. Okay, your non-metals, your molecules ni. Okay, we will look at hydrogen first. Okay, so again, your questions might ask you to draw, you show the formation of the bond using Lewis symbol. So we will start here. When we have a hydrogen molecule, we know that hydrogen is non-metal. Okay, non-metal and non-metal. That means that you will form covalent bond. Alright. So first, draw your Lewis symbol, H and H. Okay, here you don't need to draw any arrow when they are sharing. To form covalent bond, awak tak ada arrow. Arrow ni menunjukkan awak ada transfer of electrons. Ini bukan transfer, ini adalah sharing. So apa akan berlaku is that your hydrogen atoms, okay, they will share the electrons that they have with each other. Okay, so you can draw it in this way with dots, ataupun macam ni, awak tunjuk terus the bond explicitly. Okay, covalent bond. So dalam ni actually awak ada dua elektron lah. Okay, dalam that bonding pair. Okay, so by sharing the electron, each of the hydrogen atom will achieve its stable noble gas configuration of helium. Helium it is 1s2 kan. So sekarang awak punya hydrogens, okay, each have achieved stable duplet electronic configuration lah, sama dengan helium. So they both have two electrons in its valence shell. Okay, so next we have fluorine molecule, F2 molecule. So your fluorine atoms, they are in group 17, right? So they each need one electron to achieve stable octet electronic configuration. So since they are both non-metal, okay, dia tak ada transfer of electrons, they will share their electrons. Okay, so just share your electron lah. You share your electron. Now each of the fluorine atom will have 8 electrons in the valence shell. Okay, so itulah covalent bond, very simple. You just need to remember that it is between non-metal and non-metal. Okay, and you don't have to draw any arrows. Okay, tak ada arrow yang curly arrow, tak ada transfer of electrons, dia share je terus. Alright. Okay, so you can test yourself with O2 molecule dengan nitrogen molecule. Okay, that will be interesting lah. You see how many bonds you can form between them. Alright, so bonding pair. Next, kita ada these two types of electrons yang kita panggil bonding pair. It is actually this one, okay, atau this one. This is called bonding pair electrons because awak dah form a bond. Lone pair electrons are these ones, okay, yang ni. Ini bukan, okay, ini lone pair electron, ni lone pair electron, ni lone pair electron, ni lone pair electron, ini bukan, not, okay. So those are lone pair electrons and bonding pair electrons. We will use those terms more often in 4.3. Okay. So next we have the coordinate covalent bond atau dative bond. Okay. So yang ni tricky sikit sebab kita ada acceptor dengan donor. Okay. Tapi cerita dia, okay, Kalau tadi awak punya ionic bond, awak punya acceptor ada elektron, dia akan donate kepada donor. Okay, kan, dia bagi terus, kan. But here, okay, in this case, you punya acceptor and donor, okay, they will share the electrons. Okay, so dia punya arrow lain sikit. They share dia punya electrons and they will have a bond between them, shown by an arrow showing that sorry, terbalik tadi. Acceptor, tadi saya tulis terbalik So acceptor and donor. Okay, macam ni. Alright, so let's see what is a dative bond. It is a bond in which the pair of shared electrons is supplied by one of the two bonded atoms. You have A and B, okay? Although your A is the one who is donating to B, okay, but they are actually still sharing. Dia yang share dalam, dia yang donate, but they both share the electrons between themselves. Arrow tu just nak bagi tahu yang siapa yang donate. Macam tu, okay? So this involves the overlapping of full orbital and empty orbital. Okay, so macam pocket yang kosong adalah empty orbital. Okay, so siapa yang ada pocket yang berisi, dia akan donate ke dalam pocket yang kosong. Dia bukan donate, tapi dia still share. It's a little bit different lah. Dia akan still share. Okay, for dative bond ni. Okay, requirements for dative bonds. Your donor atoms should have at least one lone pair electrons. So maksudnya X, contoh, dia mesti ada at least one lone pair electron. Kalau ada dua, dan maksudnya awak boleh form even more bonds lah. Okay, tapi dia kena at least ada one lone pair electrons. And the acceptor atoms should have an empty orbital in the valence shell. Okay, ini macam empty 3D orbital ke, empty S orbital ke. Contoh dia punya 1s orbital tak full, okay, tak full, dia kosong. So awak boleh isi that empty orbital dengan elektron. Okay, awak boleh isi. So ini adalah empty orbital lah. Okay, so we have two examples, H3O plus and NH4 plus. So concentrate, focus here. Okay, to form H3O plus, okay, we will have a dative bond in this polyatomic ion. Alright, so Allah, okay, Allah Akbar. Okay, so our H plus and water will react together to form H3O plus. Okay, so H plus ni, okay, kalau awak fikirkan, okay, hydrogen ada satu proton, okay, and satu elektron kalau dia atom. But since dia adalah H plus, that means that it has already lost one of its electron, right? So now it is left with 0 electrons. Okay, so your H plus, dia punya 1s orbital, ada tak isi elektron? Tak ada, kan? Sebab dia ada 0 electrons, dia dah lose 1 electron. So your H plus has an empty orbital lah, empty 1s orbital. Alright, okay, so now it will react with our water molecule. This water molecule, okay, if you look here at the oxygen, you have 1 and 2 lone pair atoms. Lone pair electrons. Okay, so when you have lone pair electrons, maksudnya your oxygen here can donate these electrons. Okay, can donate. Alright, so in this case, okay, to form a bond between hydrogen and oxygen, we will form a dative bond. Okay. So sekarang ni our oxygen dia ada 6 valence 6 valence electrons around itself. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 electrons. Okay. So what will happen is that dia akan donate, okay, a pair of electrons to hydrogen. Akan isi dalam the empty 1s orbital of hydrogen. So sekarang ni bila hydrogen dia accept electrons, okay, dia dapat electrons, okay, dia punya charge akan jadi kosong. Alright. And oxygen pula dia punya charge akan jadi plus charge sebab dia dah lose electron bila dia donate into the dative bond. Okay. So the dative bond, it must be shown with this arrow here to show that the electrons tadi, it was, although they are sharing the electrons between themselves, hydrogen and oxygen ni, but the arrow must be shown to show that the electrons were donated by the oxygen. Okay. So bila awak lukis arrow, it has to show daripada donor to acceptor. Alright. Siapa yang derma elektron ni dalam dia punya sharing of electrons. Okay. So kat sini awak ada 2 elektron lah. Sekarang ni dia share instead of dia duduk as lone pair. So this is called a bonding pair electron. Bonding pair electrons. Okay, bonding pair. Okay. So your dative bond, it is shown by an arrow pointing from donor atom to the acceptor atom. Alright. So yang ni kan, the charge ni, cara kira dia is actually cara kira formal charge. So yang ni saya akan ajar awak later lah macam mana nak kira formal charge ni. Okay. So example 2, let's say kalau the soalan ask you to use Lewis symbol to show the formation of NH4+. Okay. So you will break down NH4+ ni by taking out the H+ lah. So H+ is a good good example for an ion with empty orbital. Okay. So since it has a empty 1s orbital, okay, it will be the acceptor in our dative bond formation. So here your nitrogen has a lone pair, it will be the acceptor pula. Donor, miss, kenapa ni? It has a lone pair electrons. Okay. Right here. Okay. So what will happen is that you will just draw the arrow showing the formation of dative bond daripada our donor to the acceptor. Okay. But they are still sharing their electrons. Okay. So since nitrogen already lost its electrons, okay, this whole molecule will have a plus charge. Alright. So plus charge kan, plus charge yang kita ada daripada H+ ni, dia takkan hilang begitu saja. So if you have plus charge kat sini, okay, it will go somewhere. It will go somewhere in your product. Okay, the charge on the left side and the right side will be the same. Okay, so that is your dative bond formation. Alright, awak kena ingat lah, dia ada empty orbital. Empty orbital is whoever yang ada plus charge, selalunya plus charge. Okay, this will be your acceptor. Okay, your donor pula will be anyone with lone pair. Okay, siapa ada lone pair, dia akan jadi donor. Alright, so lepas tu awak akan ada arrow to show the dative bond. Okay, dia supplied, the electrons were supplied by who? Alright. Okay, so this is an exercise you can try on your own. Okay, so we will try to discuss this by today lah. Alright, good luck. See you later. Bye.